Does that seem like a real escalation of what has been over a year long of this activity in the Red Sea?
It really does, because it felt like the Biden administration wanted to deal with one of the symptoms of the problem, which is let's get the people that are actually launching the missiles. I think Trump's is an acknowledgement of saying, you know what, all of these weaponry come from Iran, and let's begin to go up the ladder towards them. So at the end of the day, don't think it's so much about freedom of navigation, as important as that is, or the restoration of deterrence, as important as that is. I think it's more about sending Iran a message of the United States is very active in the region and is going to come after you if you're not ultimately cooperative on terrorism and your nuclear program.
It was only weeks ago that a man named Michael Allen sat at this table. It was the day that Benjamin Netanyahu met with Donald Trump at the White House, and you talked about their conversations about a potential preemptive strike about Iran.
Yes.
Against Iran, the nuclear sites specifically, knowing that there might be a window of opportunity here for the U.S. to take advantage of. That's been growing louder, and I'm hearing about it more and more ever since you put that on our air. Is this a continuation of the same conversation?
I think so, because people look in the region, they see Hezbollah is pretty much on its back, and Iran is thinking to itself, we got to get them back up as a deterrent force so that Israel doesn't come and bomb us.
Yeah.
The Israelis, took out many of the Russian air defense systems that would make it easier to get into Iran. So people start looking at these macro criteria and saying it's a propitious time to actually go after their nuclear program. The question is, though, are there two different clocks? A Washington clock, which is geared to Trump's maximum pressure campaign, and how long will that take, versus Israel thinking, I can't let this window of opportunity close on me? Or have they decided, hey, listen, we're going to give this a few months and then we'll do it together?
Well, when it comes to the Iranian nuclear program, we know there's been reporting that Russia has actually, or the administration has been talking with Russia about potentially being some kind of middleman in those conversations. And President Trump is going to be speaking with Vladimir Putin tomorrow. I'm not sure how heavily Iran will feature on the agenda when they're trying to talk about a ceasefire agreement of some kind in Ukraine. But do you anticipate that that will yield tangible results, that conversation tomorrow?
I think so. I think that President Trump is going to have to give Vladimir Putin some sort of assurances that he can say yes to the ceasefire without making them part of the ceasefire. I think that's what crafty Putin is trying to do. He's starting to say, well, I need Ukraine to commit to withdrawing from our territory, or I need Ukraine to acknowledge the territory that we, Russia, have taken from Ukraine is now part of Russia. And the Ukrainians, I think, are rightfully saying, like, well, hold on a second. We got pressured to come into a ceasefire. We had conditions that we would have liked to levy on this deal. Also, Russia can't sit around here and do it. So I think it's most appropriate for the mediator to say, Mr. Putin, this is going to come up in the courts of negotiations, et cetera, to coax him into the Trump framework. And then things get really hard because we've deferred all of these substantive issues to the longer negotiation of a peace deal, if that's even what you can call it.
So what do we call a success? Are you looking at how many hours they spend on the phone together? Because these can go pretty long. Will it be the readout, or will it be a meeting that's scheduled, a face-to-face meeting? Is that a win?
I think what a win will be for President Trump is if Putin hangs up the phone and says, you know what, I agree to a ceasefire without just
that would be a
heavy conditions. You know, I think there'll be some sort of understandings that will come out from the Kremlin over time that Trump agreed to this and Trump agreed to that, and we're not going to know for a little while whether that's true or not. I do think that definitely the president wants to meet with Putin, so I would look for that soon. But I think for tomorrow's call, maybe he just wants to sign him up to the Trump framework. But I wouldn't rule it out.